Welcome to today's Explainer. We're looking into a truly chilling story where a quiet Tallahassee neighborhood and a brilliant law professor's life were completely shattered by an unthinkable, deeply personal crime. Together, we're going to piece together a complex puzzle that took investigators over a decade to solve. It is a tragic case study in exactly how far people will go when a family conflict spirals completely out of control. Okay, let's dive right into this. There's a phrase that perfectly captures the psychological pattern of the tragedy we're exploring today. Rarely does a family murder plot begin as murder. As you'll see, this gruesome assassination actually started as an ordinary, albeit incredibly bitter, family dispute over custody. It didn't start with violence. It began as a battle over control, slowly escalating in stages as each side's options completely ran out.
Part 1. A shocking assassination. July 18, 2014.
So to understand how we got there, we really need to begin with the tragedy itself. On the morning of Friday, July 18, 2014, Florida State University criminal law professor Dan Markel was shot twice in the head at close range, right inside his own garage. He had literally just finished his usual routine, dropping his two young boys off at preschool and hitting the gym. Tragically, there was an agonizing 19-minute delay before paramedics could even reach him. Dan, who was a Toronto Ray Scholar with degrees from Harvard and Cambridge, passed away the very next day at age 41. He left behind two young boys and a crime scene that completely baffled police. You see, nothing was disturbed in the home, his keys were still on him, and there was absolutely no staged burglary or robbery to disguise the motive. Whoever did this, well, they came for one purpose only. Part 2. A marriage turned hostile. The breaking point. To find the motive, investigators had to look backward. Let's flash back to 2006. Dan actually met Wendy Adelson on J-Date, setting the stage for what looked on paper like the ultimate modern power couple. I mean, both were brilliant legal minds. But over time, the marriage started to crack under intense personal pressures. Dan was known for his intensity. He approached conflict head-on and absolutely refused to compromise on being a hands-on daily father in Tallahassee. Wendy, on the other hand, felt lonely and treated as an unequal partner. She deeply desired to rely on her tight-knit, wealthy South Florida family who ran a successful dental practice. These colliding worldviews led to a shocking breaking point in September 2012. While Dan was away on a work trip, Wendy abruptly emptied their house, moved the boys out, and simply left divorce paperwork on the bed for Dan to find when he got back. There was no warning whatsoever.
Part 3. Desperation and escalation. The custody battle.
The divorce was officially finalized in July 2013, but honestly, that was really just the opening chapter of a much darker fight. The conflict turned into this granular legal war over money, a family heirloom ring, and most importantly, where the boys would actually live. Wendy wanted to move the boys 500 miles away, back to South Florida to be with her family. But in June 2013, a judge flat out denied that relocation request. Dan fought fiercely to maintain his daily routine with his sons, refusing to let a 500-mile gap erase him from their weekday lives. He won that battle, fully intending to stay exactly as involved as he always had been. But here's the thing. Wendy's family wasn't prepared to accept that legal defeat. And this brings us to a key figure, Donna Adelson, Wendy's mother and really the emotional center of the Adelson family. Donna relentlessly escalated tactics to secure those grandchildren. Court documents later revealed extremely hostile emails from Donna. She reportedly even proposed a $1 million family-funded buyout, literally offering to pay Dan to let the boys move. Dan flatly rejected it at any price. There was even a proposed, though ultimately unused, plan to falsely tell Dan the boys were being raised Christian. The goal was to exploit his deep commitment to Jewish upbringing to push him to despair. So by early 2014, Dan decided he had to fight back against this barrage. He filed a formal motion asking the court to restrict Donna's unsupervised access to the boys, alleging she was speaking negatively about him directly to the children. For Donna, you have to understand, this wasn't just a legal skirmish. Her relationship with her grandsons was central to her entire life. This final legal threat against her access pushed the conflict to a terrifying breaking point.
Part 4. The deadly plot. Hired violence.
Now, what's really interesting here is how this domestic custody battle crossed the line into hired violence. The link between this wealthy dental family and the streets ran through a woman named Catherine Mugbanwa. She was romantically connected to Wendy's brother, Charlie Adelson, and also shared children with a man named Sigfredo Garcia. Let's walk through this chilling timeline. In June 2014, Garcia and an accomplice, Luis Rivera, made a failed first hit attempt, losing track of Dan during surveillance. Then, on July 15, a light green Toyota Prius was rented down in North Miami. The very next day, they learned through Magbanwa that Dan was actually flying out to New York soon. The hitmen rushed back to Tallahassee, knowing they had to act immediately before he left town. And that brings us to July 18, the 11 a.m. assassination in Dan's garage.
Part 5. The FBI Bump Operation. Breaking the case.
For 2 long years, the investigation went absolutely cold. Detectives knew who pulled the trigger, sure, but they couldn't link them to the Adelsons until an ingenious trap was set in 2016. The FBI executed an undercover bump operation. An agent, posed as a Miami gang member, approached Donna on the street and demanded hush money for the murder. And this brilliantly illustrates the domino effect that followed. Donna panics and immediately calls Charlie. Charlie hangs up and calls his romantic connection, Catherine Magbanwa. Magbanwa immediately calls the hitman, Sigfrido Garcia. Right there, through this chain of panicked phone calls, investigators finally had their very first direct evidence linking the wealthy masterminds directly to the triggermen.
Part 6. Anatomy of a Conviction. Digital Breadcrumbs. What followed is an absolute masterclass in modern investigation. Prosecutors had to build an airtight case against 5 different people without a single piece of direct physical evidence like DNA or a murder weapon at the scene itself. Instead, they relied on a mountain of digital and financial breadcrumbs. They painstakingly tracked the rented Prius using city bus cameras, gym surveillance, and cell tower data. They even found damage inside that rental Prius from an accidental firearm discharge. Financially, they tracked a $100,000 murder payout that was bundled in cash using a highly distinctive stapling pattern that perfectly matched an Adelson family habit. On top of that, Magbanwa began receiving sequentially numbered paychecks from the Adelson dental business for a job she never even worked, classic delayed compensation. All of this culminated in a secretly recorded, FBI-enhanced restaurant conversation between Charlie and Magbanwa.
So the crucial point here revolves around a specific legal concept. By definition, a conspiracy is an agreement to commit a crime, proven not by one giant smoking gun, but by patiently stacking dozens of smaller individual facts into an undeniable pattern. The Adelsons thought that by insulating themselves with middlemen, never handing money directly to the shooters, never speaking directly to the hitmen, they'd be safe. Ironically, it was this very structure, the endless phone records and financial trails connecting the layers, that ultimately trapped them.
The 10-year fallout of this conspiracy resulted in 5 eventual convictions. Luis Rivera, the driver, took a plea deal for 19 years back in 2016. Sigfrido Garcia, the shooter, got life plus 30 years. Catherine Magbanwa, the middleman, received life plus 60 years after 2 trials. Charlie Adelson, the organizer, also received life plus 60 years in 2023. And capping it all off, Donna Adelson, the emotional mastermind, was dramatically arrested while attempting to board a one-way flight to Vietnam, a country with no U.S. extradition treaty, just days after Charlie's conviction. Following her trial, she was sentenced in September 2025 to life plus 30 years.
Dan Markel spent his entire academic life asking profound questions about justice, vengeance, and mercy. He spent his career studying what people truly deserve. It's a haunting irony that the people closest to the family he married into decided that what he deserved was silence. As we wrap up this explainer, we're left with a devastating question. What does a family deserve when they break the ultimate rule? It is a dark look at the extremes of unchecked family conflict, leaving us all to ponder the true cost of getting exactly what you want, no matter